maybe people saw me get up out of my chair and try to
Hey,
check the
that's
settings.
what happens with live. You don't.
That's right.
And it's just natural. You have to check some stuff out. We're good.
Right. Well, part of it is Jordan's a huge part of what we do, especially with this stuff. And she was gone having a kid.
Oh.
And so
You were
this-
left to your own devices?
Yes, and this is the first
Ooh.
thing we're doing like this since she's been back. And so
We
I
might not
broke
even
things.
be.
We might not even be out there. So
Hi,
hopefully,
people.
hopefully we're out there. This is our knowledge drop on tourism. This is Rebecca. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Rebecca Ingham, Great Falls, Montana Tourism Executive Director. Been there 10 years now. Ish.
10 years.
Yeah.
Great. You know all the answers then.
Do not know all the answers, but I did do a bunch of research beforehand to
That's good.
refresh my knowledge so that I had some pieces of information to share besides, yep, it's good. That's great.
That's great. Yeah, that's perfect.
So we do have some data depending on what questions you want to ask today.
Okay, so I have some prepared.
Okay.
Hopefully others will
Chime
suggest
in.
some questions and chime in. So you can do that. We should be live on 3 different platforms if we're live at all. Jordan's giving me a nod. It looks like we're actually working.
Good deal.
Which is perfect. Technology always works. As we were just talking about, if
Yeah.
Yellowstone blows up, what happens? But that's another podcast.
Yep, completely different podcast.
Not knowledge drop. Speaking of podcasts, tourism does a podcast.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
So during the pandemic, we realized people didn't really have a comfort level in getting pieces of paper, and they were really stuck at home looking for entertainment. And so we also knew people didn't read, and we knew that from many, many, many test subjects. And so we launched a podcast just about Great Falls. It's called We're No Dam Experts, as in hydroelectric dams, because we have 5 of them. We're not experts in that.
Right.
So we launched that with just the intent to tell stories about Great Falls. We're 5 years into it, 260 some episodes. Montana's #1 podcast. So Great Falls has got it going on. And we cover big topics, small topics, anything that interests us that we think visitors would want to learn a little bit more about. We bring on guests or we talk about it ourselves. It's very lighthearted, some education, and we drive traffic to partner websites, to our website to get more information about things. But we've covered things like the wallpaper at Charlie Russell's house, which is an absolutely wonderful story about getting hand-stamped, replicated wallpaper to match what the original was. We've talked about events that are happening. We've talked about people's hikes, journeys to developing events in our community. So it runs the gamut, and a lot of times it's just funny.
Okay.
And what we found with the podcast is a lot of people who are from Great Falls who've moved away are learning things that they didn't know before and then sending us emails like, I'm so sorry I slept on the C.M. Russell Museum. My mom had begged me for years to go and I told her it's stupid, I don't want to go. And then your episode on the C.M. Russell made me realize maybe I should go because it sounds like there's some cool stuff to check out. So that's our intent, is really just to share a little bit deeper dive into the things that are here in Great Falls, get people a little more emotionally connected to our community.
I've listened to a couple episodes, and you do learn a lot.
It's bound to happen.
Right. I think on every podcast you can learn a lot, but I feel
Yeah.
that it hits home a little bit more. All right, switching topics a little bit.
Okay.
So why would you say tourism is so important to Great Falls?
Yeah, tourism's a little sleeper in the economy for our community. A lot of people think of tourists that come in from out of state, and they pet the fluffy cows, and they disrupt our community. And people, when they think of tourism, they're thinking of communities like Whitefish and Big Sky, where they've got a large influx of people at specific times of the year. Our tourism economy is really kind of stable. We do peak in the summertime, but overall, really stable. And it is a mix of people coming from outside of the state to come experience our outdoor recreation, our 13 museums in town, to spend some time with friends and family, to people traveling for business, which is a tourism economy or a visitor economy. to people coming in for district divisional basketball games or wrestling tournaments.
Or the rodeo. It was just
Or the
here,
rodeo,
right?
or people who are coming in to watch the University of Providence play against Havre or Dillon. And so it's all of this microcosm of people coming into our community to visit for a reason and then leaving. And then they leave their money behind, which is absolutely amazing. It's about a $200 million spend that happens in our community from visitors. And that's not just in hotels, it's actually the lowest portion of what the spend is. It's grocery stores, it's retail shops, it's dining, it's drinking, it's fuel to get in and around. So it's a large segment of the economy that is a little bit of a sleeper. I would say our local businesses see around, like our dining and drinking establishments would see about 20% of their revenue come from people outside on a year basis. So it's not a huge hit to their business. They don't have to shut down during the winter because of the lack of tourism, which is a huge benefit for our community and our visitor economy.
So you answered a lot of questions with that one question, which is
Well, I tend to talk a lot,
which
Ed.
is totally fine. But I think when you brought it up and you said 20%, I was kind of surprised by the number, because 20% is significant for especially small businesses. I mean,
Yeah.
all businesses. But
Yeah.
how would people know? This is something we get asked a lot as the Chamber of Commerce. We're a little different than other communities where tourism and chamber are separate. So people get confused, and that's fine. And thank you for being such
Yeah.
a great partner and willing to take those questions. But how would people know if there's a huge tournament coming in? I mean, the rodeo is easy to know. Sometimes people are like, why are all these kids at this restaurant? Or why is that hotel packed?
Yeah.
Is there a way that we can, or that you do let people know so then
Yeah.
they can be prepared for that?
So we do a few different things. If we know about it, because not everything happening in our community comes through our office.
Or ours.
Correct. So when we know about it, we are usually fairly in tune as to what basketball tournaments are coming, what's happening, and we develop an entire calendar list of things that are happening in the community, and we deliver that on a weekly basis. So it's updated each week, called the Eventory. You can sign up for it from our website. You can call us. You can get it from the chamber newsletter. You always have that link to the Eventory there. Great opportunity to sign up. So every week you're getting an email that says this is what's happening and this is what's coming to our community. As soon as we know about it, it goes on that list, and so it's updated on a regular basis. A lot of times it'll be on our website depending on what the event is. Smaller tournaments, we don't always get like the little kids wrestling tournaments. Those are ones that are a little sleepers. They sneak around and get you. We don't always know when they're coming into town.
Right.
But the ones we do, we let the community know that way. And if it's a bigger event, we send out an informational email to our partners early on to say, hey, this is coming into town. For example, when we hosted the BMW Motorcycle Owners Association National Rally back in 21. Yep. And I said it all instead of the acronyms. But we let the community know, hey, this is coming in during June. You'll see an influx of people riding on two wheels. Pay more attention on the road because we want to keep those riders safe, but also know they're going to be around in the community so that you can develop specials or create a drink specific for them when they come in. You go like, oh, I've got the BMW drink for you right here, to kind of show a little bit more of that appreciation for them being in our community. And then the last thing we do is if we're brought in, we usually give our partners, and really anybody can be a partner, an opportunity to connect with the event. We'll let them know, hey, this group is looking for sponsorships, or they're looking for things to give away to the people that are coming to the event. If this is a market that interests you, if this is something that you think is going to be a good fit for your business to partner with, here's the contact information for who's coordinating that to make that happen.
So if you know, you'll share, and
Yeah.
the key is
We
to
don't-
subscribe to your newsletter.
Yep, we don't keep anything a secret. And you can always call the office. We get people who do that as well.
Yeah.
What time is the downtown parade of lights for the Christmas, during the Christmas season? We'll get people who call us and ask if Sue Johnson still lives in Great Falls. So we're there to provide as much information as we know of that's happening, so that our business community can leverage either the event or that traveler that's coming in to help increase their sales and revenue.
Great. Jordan, any questions?
No questions. Yeah.
So if anyone has questions, feel free to ask, because we're about to go turn this around a little bit here.
Ooh.
Different turn. But before we go down that road, what areas of the state do you cover? Because when people think Great Falls tourism, they think, okay, so is it just tourism in the city, or is it the county? So what areas do you cover?
We cover the city. That's our primary area of focus. We tend to dabble a little bit about 50-mile radius outside of Great Falls. And this is getting really into the weeds and nuts and bolts on our strategy, but let me share. Our revenue comes from people staying in hotels in Great Falls. So if you stay in a hotel in Cascade or in Choteau, that's great. That doesn't do anything for where our money comes from.
Yeah.
And so we focus on areas where there's not lodging, not a lot of lodging, or an experience that's going to force the traveler to have to come back into Great Falls that night for eating, drinking, staying, shopping, those type of things. So we're going to lead with the assets we have in our community, because that's who we are. We're focused on Great Falls, but we might promote Sluice Boxes State Park as a great day hike opportunity, because there's not a lot of lodging in the Belt area, and you're not necessarily going to leave Sluice Boxes, go over the hill to White Sulphur Springs. You're more likely to come back into Great Falls. And so we'll do a little bit of that radius, trying to keep that dollar local a little bit more than outside. But with that said, I'm going to throw in a little bit of a wrench. Great Falls, Montana Tourism does manage Central Montana Tourism, and so we do have a really strong partner within the region that spends time promoting the region, but our organization just focuses on Great Falls.
All right, focusing on Great Falls.
Yeah.
Coming February is a new event that you're promoting all
Yes.
over, a film festival of sorts.
Yeah, not of sorts, an actual film.
Oh, it
festival.
is, okay.
Yeah.
I just thought that there was going to be a lot of UFOs showing up, maybe Bigfoot. It's
So, yeah, UFO showed up in Great Falls in the 50s.
That's why we have the Voyagers.
Yeah,
People
it was
might
the
not
first
know.
UFO sighting.
Yeah.
It's called the Mariani Incident, if anybody wants to Google that. We also
Dig
have a
in.
great podcast episode on how that all came to be, which you can infer your own thoughts on that.
Right.
Sounds like there's some nefarious activities going on, but you can listen to the story and make your own conclusions. But it's based on kind of the unique things that are here. Bigfoot, aliens, mermaids. We have that collection here, and so our film festival, and ghosts. And so
Yeah,
the
a lot
film
of ghosts.
festival, The Great Beyond, which is going to be February 5th, 6th, and 7th, is going to have 20 different films connected to that genre. So they may be a little bit spooky ghost stories. They may be a little bit more about sea monsters or sea creatures or Bigfoot or alien sightings. Those type of genre films are what's going to be showed. 20 films were selected from across the world, and they'll be shown during the film festival. But in addition to that, there's also going to be some unique experiences that are offered outside just the film viewing. So we will have a company out of LA here called Script Anatomy, who is going to be doing classes on special effects makeup, and film writing and scoring and developing scripts and how all of that works together to enhance the film person that wants a little bit more knowledge. And then, as a VIP bonus, there's going to be 2 ghost hunts that happen
Hunts.
overnight with paranormal groups that will be coming into Great Falls to coordinate that. Paranormal groups with the knowledge, the equipment, and they will run that entire experience for the people who buy the tickets.
This sounds pretty cool. Like,
It's
I don't know
going
if
to be amazing.
I'm not trying to plug another podcast, but Sam and Colby got me engaged in some of that stuff, and then I don't know how much I believe in those kind of ghost things, but it's crazy.
So we did an entire episode with Bridger Lutz on our We're No Damn Experts podcast about Bigfoot, because he actually had a opportunity to kind of travel the state talking about Bigfoot, and we discussed kind of some theories about electromagnetic fields and how Bigfoot shows up and doesn't, because I'd love to believe that there's some big hairy dude, because Harry and the Hendersons,
great movie.
And I just dream of, finding my own little Harry. But at the same time, for as long as our areas have existed, there's not been random bone sightings or fur that doesn't make sense. So there's like these elements where you're like, well, shouldn't there eventually be proof? And Bridger had this great explanation as to, sometimes you just need to believe without the proof. And here's the things that I would like you to consider. And he did a fantastic job of presenting the information. So definitely believe in aliens. I mean, that's just a given. The universe is way too big.
Yeah.
And it's fun because my colleague Shannon, who co-hosts the podcast with me, adamant, like, no ghosts, no aliens. I'm like, I can't not deny these things yet.
So maybe the first weekend is the weekend of February.
February 5th, 6th, 7th. Yep.
So maybe Shannon will become a believer once she watches the movies and experience it all. Maybe she'll get an experience.
I would love for her to be a convert, but I don't think it's gonna happen. Just the number of years we've spent talking about this, she's still
adamant it's not real.
Not even on the fence. She's like way out in the field. No.
So what is the estimated amount of people who will be coming into our community for this? Because I imagine folks are going to be traveling from different places to experience this, as well as the filmmakers and the different folks you're bringing in.
Yeah, well, the launching of any new event is really a challenge,
right?
Because there is so much activity that happens, not just in Great Falls, but across the state. Our goal is fairly low this year. We're looking to bring in about 300 people for this event. That includes paid ticket holders, vendors, as well as film creators to do the Q&A with the audience. And that seems low, but these are the metrics that we look at. We know that every new event is about a 5-year window, and how to get that to grow to the point where it could be sustainable. So 300 is our mark, and we're really hoping to hit that. Things to consider, like we're host to Western Art Week here in Great Falls. It's over 50 years old, and it started with 100 or less people at the first one. And it's grown today. The Russell auction, I should say, started with a smaller amount, and it's grown today to what it is with over 800 artists exhibiting 16 shows over an entire week. So it's about getting that sustainability ready and then growing from there.
It. Yeah, I think at the Folk Festival in Butte, it started out small, and then it's like a thing people have to go to, and it's really brought a lot of tourists to Butte to experience Butte. So
it is.
Then this topic is a pretty out there in the media topic, with disclosure and all the other things with the UFOs, and it's just, there's a lot out there, so there's a lot of meat to it that Great Falls could become the center of something.
Well,
it turns into that.
Certainly are willing.
Yeah,
to do that.
And that would help drive a lot of business and a lot of traffic here in a month where maybe we don't have that much.
Yeah, and that's a lot of our focus. We would love to work with anyone who's creating an event, but not everyone has the capacity within their business or within their organization to launch events, especially events that focus on the visitor. Right. And so we hope more and more people will do that. We're happy to help with that component. because it's bigger, newer money. You're not saturating the local market with another event that they have to support or develop, especially with nonprofits for fundraising. Love to visit with them about ideas of how they can shift some parameters within events to make them more visitor friendly, to get a little bit more of that income coming into their organization for their event or within the community. And so when we look at those bigger events, there's a lot happening when events start or develop and grow, that the visitor is more likely to experience something if it's unique or different or really local to that experience. So not something they can get at home.
Great. Jordan, any questions come through?
No questions. We've had some back and forth on believing of ghosts.
Well,
Of course. What's your stance?
Well, my personal stance is I believe that people imprint upon a location,
Okay.
and that imprint stays there. I don't understand how it works. I think there's a dimension piece. I think that's what the Bigfoot thing is.
Yeah.
I also think that's how aliens travel,
Yeah.
dimension piece. And I don't know if they're aliens. They could be time travelers from the future.
It could be.
There's
I'm not rolling that out either.
yeah, there's a theory called, I think it's called panspermia, where we're actually aliens, and that could make sense.
Yeah.
That we came here, and like it's all theory. No one knows
Right.
until Yellowstone explodes, and then we all discover what
Yeah.
happens.
Like a documentary crew that comes in afterwards, like,
Yeah, if there's film.
look at this.
right. It's something that is very interesting, and it's a cool, interesting path. It sounds like someone's commenting on here. It's a cool, interesting path that folks are taking, and that you're taking from the tourism aspect of honoring that past.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't know why the Voyagers are called the Voyagers, and
Right.
why Orbit is an alien, and like why with baseball. And if you learn about that, it's like we've been the hub. Or you talk to Sandy,
Yeah.
Sandy over at the O'Hare,
Yeah.
and she has stories about ghosts wandering around. So it's like active here.
Yeah. We don't make up stuff. We're looking at what our community actually has, the stories we know about, and figuring out ways to leverage that history, those stories, these businesses in a way that excites people to come in and experience it. Because honestly, you're not going to go experience something you can experience at home. Although there is a component of that, like you might be here for a basketball game and you have a Taco John's at home, but you really like Taco John's. and you
So you're
haven't
gonna
had
go to
it in a
Taco
while, so you
John's,
went to
yeah.
Taco John's. So, or, there's those different things, like these are the things I really enjoy, so I want to do them in another town. But as a whole, we know our visitor is coming in for the unique experiences that Great Falls can offer, and that's what we want to share with them to get them excited about coming here.
Right. Did you have something come through, or just some more chatter?
Just some more chatter, no questions.
Okay.
People are
Okay.
excited about a ghost tour and how it incorporates our local history.
Yeah, I can tell you the proprietors of the businesses that are hosting them they've had some experiences and they're ready to share them.
And the cool part is that not only they get to share them and be a part of it, you do learn so much about
Yeah.
why. That's why I think
Yeah.
it's an imprint. Like it's an imprint of history, historical moment. Because a lot of the things typically with those ghost stories is it's a trauma that happened at that location.
Yeah.
It's not just like, hey, Jim was there. Who's Jim? It's like, no, this was this person, and this is what they did,
Yeah.
and that's why we identify with them. So it's cool that they're excited. The local residents are excited, and I imagine if this builds up,
Yeah.
more people will be excited. So, anything else you want to talk about with tourism that is top of mind right now?
One of the things that's really top of mind for me right now, and which I think is probably the most awe-inspiring component of tourism, is the planning window for visitors to get here. So right now, this time of year is when we are pumping out a ton of information for people to plan their summer trips. And a lot of times, when I visit with folks about what tourism is, they think summer is like our busiest time of the year.
Yeah.
And it is for overnight stays, but all of our work is done now.
Now. Yeah.
We've got a lot of good data about how people plan their trips and how that planning window shortens and lengthens depending on what time of the year it is and when they're planning to travel. So right now, visitors who are planning a trip take about 60 days before they arrive in market from the time they book. So if they book today, they'll arrive 60 days from now in Great Falls.
Has that changed? Because I feel,
It changes by time of year.
okay, because camping sites have been booked up way faster than they
Yeah.
used to be. And so I
And
feel like
depending
people
on
are
where
planning
you
better.
are, it changes. But for the
Okay.
Great Falls Market, we're at about a
60
60-day
days.
window right now. Now, before they ever decide where they're going to go, a visitor, someone who's trying to learn what they want to do in that community, is consuming 527 minutes worth of content about that community before they ever make a decision of where they want to go. So that is listening to podcasts, looking at their social media accounts. It's visiting with people who have gone there before, looking at friends and family who might live in the area you're going to and asking them questions. But they're working through so much information, whether it be articles on the internet or social media accounts, but just kind of pulling up Google Maps and looking
Right.
at what's here and how does the community lay out and what is the spots that they're looking at. So 527 minutes of content, and of course that doesn't happen just at one setting.
No.
So you're looking at probably 3 to 4 months of planning before they ever make that decision. And then they arrive 60 days later. So we're looking at about a 4 to 6 month window, depending on when that is, to get someone to come to our community. And so all of that planning, if they're looking at coming here for an event, they need to know when the event is happening to backtrack into their decision-making process of actually attending that event. And events are a great, what I like to call, limited time offer.
Right.
You can always go to the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center. I shouldn't say always.
The majority of the time,
Yeah. Or winter hours, they're, limited hours, but it doesn't shut down for a season. So you can go to the Lewis and Clark Interpretive Center. You can go to the Paris Gibson Square. You can always get on the River's Edge Trail and look at the 31 works of art on the trail. But you can only do the event on February 5th on February 5th. And so that becomes that limited time offer, that driver to get in our market. And you'll say, oh, well, I'm going to go do that concert, and then we can do all these other things we've always wanted to do in Great Falls. We really see that as an ecosystem of how the traveler is making some of those decisions. Because if the option is, well, I can go to the C.M. Russell Museum, and it's available anytime, or Lewis Black is playing in Spokane on this day, I'm going to choose Spokane versus doing that. And so there's a lot of consumer behavior that goes into that, and getting those people the information to make that decision in a time frame that allows them to be able to book here is important. The other big thing is we are a fairly stable, as I mentioned, fairly stable tourism economy where, yes, we see a small peak in the summertime, but about 20% of our overall annual visitation comes in the first quarter of the year, so January, February, March, which is when we host PRCA Circuit Finals Rodeo, when Western Art Week is, when we see divisional and state basketball tournaments.
The new film festival that's going to take off is here.
All happens in that time frame. So when 20% of our total visitation is still coming in what we call the slower time, we're constantly looking at ways to bolster Q1 and Q4 of the calendar year, because summer does kind of take care of itself, which is great, but across the board, we can accommodate more guests any time of the year. In general, we have about 2,300 rooms available in Great Falls any given night for people to stay in. And that doesn't include like short-term rentals or VRBOs, Airbnb, which is another whole dimension of our industry. So there's plenty of space here in Great Falls. Invite your friends, invite your family, just tell them to stay with you.
Yeah, right? Have them go in the hotel. Well, Jordan, any questions that come up?
Nope.
So before we wrap up, if I'm a business and I have an event, or I want to make sure that people who are visiting are coming to visit us, just reach out to you, go to your website.
Yeah, so we've got over 20 partnership opportunities to help leverage that visitor economy and leverage the media spend that we already have in the market. We're happy to do some partnership. If it's an event, let us know. We're happy to get it on the Eventory, and if it qualifies, it can get on the website, and I can talk more about that when they call, because that's a really great conversation about that. We're happy to get those things listed. Always be thinking about someone who isn't familiar with your event when writing event descriptions and those type of things. Really helps people to understand, where should I park, and do I need to arrive early, and do I need to make dinner reservations on this weekend, or just get them to know a little bit more so you can reduce that fear of a first timer. They know what to expect, they know how to plan, they know how to prepare, and you're sharing what the event is going to be, what the experience is going to be like, helps that visitor.
Great. Anything else we should mention?
The other thing I would mention,
Okay.
66% of our visitors to Great Falls have been here before. So we have a large return customer base. And so the more you're able as a business owner to share reasons for them to come back. If they're in your establishment, say, hey, we've got this coming up. We'd love to see you back in Great Falls for that. Or just saying, thanks for being in Great Falls. We love that you've been here. Each business is a little bit different, but there's also that opportunity if you're a retail store to say, here's the perfect outfit we've curated for Western Art Week, stop by and pick it up. Or here's a special drink that we've created just for the rodeo, stop by and ask for it. And that allows the business owner a way to kind of track who's coming in or who's seeing that stuff connected to being from not around here. That makes you realize kind of what numbers you're looking at from that perspective. So anything we can do to remind guests that they might be here for a day hike or a scenic drive, but there's so much more to see and do, offer that up. Share a personal story about your experience at an event, at a museum, or the new piece of artwork that's on the trail. Share those stories with them, get them excited, and then they are likely to come back to experience whatever it was you told them about.
Fantastic.
Last minute question come in.
Ooh,
What do you think is the best way to overcome the local tourists are bad stigma that we have on social media?
yeah, I don't know if you can overcome people's opinions about that.
It's tough.
The one thing I would share is when we've been watching kind of those social media posts and that sentiment that tourists are bad, it's actually new residents that people are talking about, because it's like, these people came from Texas and they didn't
Yeah.
leave. Well, tourists go home. But they're respectful. We don't see the influx in our local economy like we do other communities that might have kind of that Yellowstone or Glacier component of bad tourism. But it's not bad. When you look at it from a statewide perspective, in my opinion, of course, you're a state of 1 million people, you bring in 13 million visitors that create an obscene amount of money in your local economy that you wouldn't have otherwise. So if you're only going to be dependent upon local residents, you're missing the boat on really capitalizing on what economic impact is going to be had within a community. In addition to that, there are some things that just wouldn't happen without tourism. So events or businesses that you may like might only be able to survive because they can supplement the resident spend with some non-resident spend. And so I'd really take a look at what you might actually be thinking is a bad tourist and reevaluate your frame of reference, which I know is a big ask.
It's tough, yeah.
But really consider, is it that you're hearing from someone else that the trailhead in Yellowstone's really busy? Or are you actually seeing there are too many people at the trailhead for the, River's Edge Trail or Tower Rock State Park? I would probably argue, based on the data that I'm looking at, that's not the case. And we aren't seeing just awful people leaving garbage behind or destroying ecosystems. based on the information I'm receiving. So I would just question, is it actually tourists or is it residents that aren't behaving appropriately? And until you can pinpoint it, I would just give a little bit of grace to the visitor that's in our local economy.
Yeah, and I will say if it is someone who moved and is new to our community, they made a choice to become a part of our community and they want
Yeah.
to be welcomed in a new place. And so try to
Yeah.
see it from a different perspective that we want to welcome them. Hey, you want to be part of what we got going on here. We want you to help us.
And
be a part
maybe
of
it's
that.
a little tip like, hey, that's not the way we act.
Yes.
Or, hey, if you want to make friends around here, these are some things you might want to consider.
Yeah, there is cultural change. Even across the United States, there are cultural things. Having lived all over the country, there's little things that are a little different that is okay somewhere else, but not here. And I think of when I fly fish in New Jersey, tripping over tires was common. People just dump their tires in the water. No one's going to allow anyone to dump tires in the water in Montana.
Right.
So, yeah, just a little different little perspective. So,
But there is some bad rap along the western part of the state, certainly coming from the legislative leaders at that level, but we just don't see it in central Montana and eastern Montana to the extent that
They
western
do.
Montana does. So.
Okay. Any other questions come through?
Nope, that was it.
Rebecca, thank you for your time. Everyone, thank you for tuning
Yes,
in.
thanks.
And any final thought?
Oh, I have many final thoughts. Just thank you. I've talked enough, and I really appreciated the opportunity to share our knowledge about tourism.
That's great. Well, that's what this is all about.
Good deal.
And I'll just ask everybody a question. Do you believe in whatever it is, whether it's ghosts, aliens, Bigfoot, whatever? And if you want some more information on that, then go to your website to figure out what's going on with
That's
all
it.
that.
Visit greatfallsmontana.org.
All right. Thank you all. Have a wonderful day.